Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Lessons Learned, the dumbest thing I've ever done with money. My name is Suzanne, and I am the head coach at Grace Financial Coaching, and I am super excited to have Lauren Litt with us today. Lauren is the owner and lead social media manager at Lil Shameless Plug, which best company name ever. Lil Shameless Plug is a social media management company dedicated to the curation and creation of quality content for the creative entrepreneur. Lauren spent a decade as an actor and realized she had a lot of talented friends, but not all of them knew how to promote themselves online. So since Lil Shameless Plug's creation, Lauren has been able to teach social media rules to independent entrepreneurs, brick and mortar stores, and even an Oscar qualifying film festival. Lauren recently moved to Portland with her husband and her 3 fur babies. Lauren, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
Good. So let's talk about the fur babies. No, I'm kidding.
Yes, all the fur babies.
All the fur babies. I know.
Yes,
Lauren
yes.
and I spent a good 10 minutes talking about our dogs before we got on here because, that's what dog owners do.
That's what pit bull owners do. We are
Yes,
very, very proud and, for our
exactly.
breeds.
Exactly.
Just
So before we get started with your money perils, tell us about Lil Shameless Plug. When I saw this, I was like, this is the greatest. I love this business name. It's so
that
wonderful.
I'm not sure if I've shared this story with you already, but the name is an accident.
No.
Yes. So when I left serving, when I left waitressing, uh, I had gone home and threw my shoes away. I was like, I cannot do that one more day in my life. And thankfully, I was living in Los Angeles at the time, and they had this uh, teaching entrepreneurship to women program by the
Mm.
city, by Van Nuys. And so I signed up for that, and I'm like, I'm going to do this thing, and I'm going to do social media. And I had kind of been doing it, and so I knew people needed it. And I'm sitting in the class and someone stood up and we were talking about something they needed. And I jumped up and I was like, this is just a little shameless plug, but I do blah, 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 blah. And they were like, oh, that's a brilliant name. I said, what's a brilliant name? And they said, Little Shameless Plug. I said, oh, that's not my name. And they said, yes, it is.
That is so awesome. Oh my gosh, I love that so much. But it's
Yep.
so true because that's really what marketing is, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
All it is just, I coach other coaches, and I actually encourage coaches in 2022 while we're recording this to have business cards. They're not that expensive. They're pretty
Yeah.
cheap, and it will remind someone of who you are and what you do. It is a little shameless plug, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
little piece of paper. People will reach out to me. Oh, I just found your card in my winter coat from
Because people
last
don't throw them
season.
away. People feel
No,
guilty. Yeah.
no. Right, exactly. And so even something as small and as basic as a business card can be a little shameless plug, but
Mm-hmm.
you do more of the social media and the digital business cards.
We handle our one-on-one clients. We handle pretty much anything you do online. So newsletter, SEO, blogs, website design. Well, we fix websites. We don't love to create a full one for you, but
Yeah,
I can help you find someone to do that. But yeah, all of that stuff plus any social media platform that you're on, we
nice.
handle that all. So
That's awesome. I love that so much.
yeah.
So, w tell us a little bit about the people that you were an actor for a decade.
I'm still an actor. I actually just
Right.
got
I
a
was gonna say,
job.
I don't think you ever stop being an
Yeah.
actor, right?
Yeah, like once it's just part of your blood. It's like being a pit bull mom, you're an actor. That's just who I am.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, when I started all of this, I had been an actor for about 10 years, and a friend of mine and I had a web series. And I had had a very bad experience on social media prior to that series, meaning
Mm.
I had been in of all things, a commercial that went really huge and viral. And I had people, this was back in MySpace days, and I
Oh
had
my
people
gosh.
finding photos on MySpace, posting blogs about what a drunk I was. I mean, y'all, I was 22, so there's pictures of me holding alcohol. That's just like what life is. But yeah, what a drunk I was, they posted pictures of me in my bathing suit
Oh
and
my
said stuff. They found my phone number and posted it into a blog, and people would call me and leave me threatening messages.
Okay, so I'll be honest with you, I did not have a MySpace. I remember
Yeah.
being in college and it was, I think, uh, it wasn't my freshman year. It was my junior or senior year when people
Yeah.
started to get into it.
Yeah.
Um, and some people had already had them, but more people were getting them as I was like a sophomore, junior, senior. And I didn't think people did that stuff until Twitter came around. I didn't
Yeah.
realize they've been doing it as far
Oh,
back
yeah.
as the MySpace days.
Oh, yeah. Like, it was really, and this was a commercial that was there's 2 major competing, computers, and this was for one of those major competing ones, and so the people on the other side were, like, real mad at me.
Gotcha.
Like, these are geeks. Like, this what why are you calling and threatening me? Like, it's a computer, y'all.
Oh
But
my
yeah,
god.
that's so it taught I was terrified of social media after that experience, right? I did not have any. I didn't want to be anywhere.
No.
And so my flash forward, to having this web series with my friend, and she's like, "Well, we have to do a fundraiser, and we're going to use Twitter." And I was like, "I don't do Twitter." And she's like, "Well, let me teach you, and you will handle the craft." It was called Craft Ladies. So you will handle the Craft Ladies Twitter account. It's not you; it's Craft Ladies. So you're going to be, safe. And we exceeded our goal. I think we were trying to raise, I should go back and look at the numbers, but like $5,000 to, do this web series. And we like got 5,700 or something from Twitter and from
Right.
talking to people. And we did like live tweet ups about, like, okay, you do this and we'll do that. It was so powerful. And then we did it again after the web series was done for the launch. And we had, oh, I can never remember her name, but Tom Hanks's wife. We all know who she
Oh,
is.
Rita
Read
something or
yes,
other. Yes.
yes. She donated because we did this craft for the cure. She donated some stuff. Like I like to think Tom Hanks and Rita were sitting in bed and she's like, "Look at these cute, funny girls." And they were like, "Yeah, we should donate to their like craft for the cure thing."
I mean,
So
how else could it have happened?
Tom Hanks knows who I am.
Yeah.
That's Twitter. But yeah, like it was so successful. And then I had friends being like, "Well, I don't know how to do this." And so I would start doing things for them. And then I was finally like, I should just charge. Like I should just charge for this. And
Yeah.
it's so funny because it was such a baby experience looking back, over the 10 years. I was just teaching someone yesterday and I was like, there are so many more nuances to social media today than there used to be. Like
Oh, yeah.
it is just a different game, but it's a powerful game, and that's why I like to teach people about it, especially if you have any anxiety about showing up because as I shared, like I know exactly what that feels like,
Yeah.
in the worst of ways. Um you can protect yourself from social media, but it is a free powerful platform, and
Yes.
my goal is that the how let's just get so many people sharing good messages in the world on those platforms so that we can raise our vibration a little bit because the world needs help, y'all.
Yeah. Yes, definitely, definitely. No, I think people are definitely afraid. What I encourage my coaches to do is, you know, are they ever they might wake up one morning. I had one coach, and she had a post that went viral, and she was like, "I what do I do with this now? How do I monetize this?" I'm like, I mean, it's probably not going to happen again."
Yeah, yeah,
So let's not get too ahead of ourselves, right?
yeah.
Um, but the way that she got there was just by being consistent. I said the rules are always going to change, right? We're going to wake up one morning and actually you might actually know this gentleman that I'm thinking of because he's a San Diego person also. Um, he is a Google, what they were used to call Google My Business, now Google,
Yeah.
Google Maps now, master basically. And I had a one-on-one with him, and I basically was, I held a gun to his head and I was like, "Give me the top 3 things that you can do to make this possible." And his response of, "Listen, here are the top 3 things you can do today, but they're just going to change the algorithm next week."
Mhm.
And that is so devastating to some people because they're like, "But I'm going to be super consistent and then I'm going to go viral with this video or this tweet or whatever it is, and then the rules are going to change on me."
But the rules are changing. People think the algorithm's out to get them. It's not out to
Right.
get them.
I
The
It
goal
feels,
of
and hold on, in all fairness, sometimes it feels that way.
I totally get it. However, they are looking at the algorithm. The algorithms were built because look, they're businesses and they're selling stuff,
Yeah,
right? Google is selling something, and sometimes it's us. Sometimes Instagram is selling something, Facebook is selling something. And so they're watching things. And as soon as they see people aren't paying attention in the same way, they change the algorithm because they're like, oh, okay, they're not paying attention to this. Now they're paying attention to that. Let's
right.
try this to try and keep people on the platform. Even though their goal is to sell people shit and our goal is to inform, like we have the same goal, to keep everybody on the platform
And
and take.
engaged, right. Mhm.
So when it changes, it's not changing because they're like, "Ooh, you figured it out and I want to like stick it to you now." Like they're changing it because they're like, "Wow, people aren't watching long form video anymore. We got to try short form video." Like
Right.
that's it.
Exactly,
That's the
exactly. But
big
like I said,
secret.
sometimes it does feel, especially when you feel like you've cracked the code and you have like a few weeks of really good feedback on Facebook, and then all of a sudden it disappears. You're like, well, what did I do
Yeah.
wrong? You feel like you did something wrong. So
Yeah.
it's definitely, I don't know if I'd call it an art form. It is definitely, it's almost like a scientific research project. You just have to keep proving the theory over and over and over
That's
again.
why I love it, and that's why I love acting is because I'm constantly learning something new, and it took
Right.
me about 6 or 7 years into being a social media manager before I realized, "Oh, nobody knows." Nobody
Mm,
knows.
I
We're
know.
all just testing and tracking and using our best
Yeah.
guesses and testing and tracking. Like, I used to think that other social media managers, like, had the secret, like, they knew, and that's why they could get on and tell other people, and I'd be like, "Wow, I wish I knew because I
Right.
would
And
tell
unless you're
people."
married to someone in that department at Instagram, I don't think anyone knows.
No, they don't know. So now I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I don't know, but here's the best thing that's working,"
Right.
and it works for people. I just
Exactly.
helped someone actually sell their first things to clients. We like I
Yay.
know, I was so proud of him. I was like, "This is what it works," and then he come back to me, he's like, "It worked." I was like, "It worked."
I know, right? It's right. It really is. It's a blessing and it's a maddening thing all at the same time, for sure.
Absolutely,
So,
absolutely.
Lauren, I created this short form show
Sure.
to help
Tell
people
me.
understand that we all make mistakes with money, whether we are
Mhm.
an actress in a famous commercial
Famous.
or not. So, what is the dumbest thing you have ever done with money?
It was a very long lesson. I didn't do credit cards for a very long time because I was like, I had that blip right in college that we all probably did where you're like, this is my first credit card. And then you like have $2,000 in it and there's no way you'll ever pay off at 30% or what they have. So then I was like swearing off credit cards. I'm never going to have a credit card again. I met my husband and my husband was like, well, miles are a great thing. We should totally get you a credit card. And I was like, cool. And I ran that up almost immediately. Right. And it was, I don't know, $8,000. Like it was a credit card for someone who didn't have a credit card, right? So it wasn't a huge amount, but a big
Right. We
enough
didn't have a
amount.
$30,000 limit on it. It's Amex Platinum or something. Right. Yeah.
Exactly. Like it was, and I was still waiting tables and dog walking and doing all the things at the time. So there was no way I was ever going to pay it off. And at the time, it made sense to talk to the bank and get a loan to pay that card off. However, what happened is they left the card open. So now I have a loan that I'm paying,
Yeah.
and I still had the credit card and I hadn't learned the discipline of using a credit card. So then it just like went up again. And so I actually between the time we talked and now, I paid off the last $400 of that loan,
Oh my gosh.
but that was I wasn't married to my husband at the time. So that was 9 years ago.
Yeah.
It took me 9 years.
Wow.
Plus that credit card is still open, y'all. Like
Right.
I've learned processes. I'm, through, but I didn't if I had just said, no, I'm not going to take out a loan. I'm going to figure this out and pay it and do whatever. I feel like I would have become a more responsible person with that card, that magical card that feels like
Right.
you can just give it to people and things happen.
So, what was the impact? Because I had this happen to a couple people. I had several clients and some friends and family members who agree with your husband's assessment of the miles benefit, right?
Mhm.
Well, that came to a screeching halt in 2020 when no one was allowed to go anywhere
We have
anymore.
so many miles now. So many miles.
So my question was going to be, how many miles do you have? Because I'm guessing you haven't flown to Hawaii and back recently.
No, no. We're
Yeah.
actually saving. My husband's was born in Italy, and so we're saving to go back to Italy, and we are going
Nice.
to go first class. So that's how many miles we have. We will be able to fly
Wow.
first class to
To
Italy.
Italy and back
Yeah,
from the West Coast.
from the West Coast.
Right.
Yes,
Keep
yes,
that in
because we are
mind.
now Portland
Yes.
bound.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely. That is but it was really funny to me to see these people who had just, beaten me over the head with I'm keeping my credit card for the miles. I'm keeping my credit card for the miles. I'm keeping my credit for the miles. And it's like, "Oh, where are you going? Where are you going?
Nowhere.
Where are you going with those miles right now?
Mm-mm,
Nowhere fast."
mm-mm, mm-mm. Yeah.
So, it's It's a catch-22. So what do you think have you created any specific processes or built any new habits using the credit card, like to continue using the credit card?
I mean, I live in fear of the credit card.
Mhm.
We have credit cards, they're used, and my husband's like, "No, we use them and that makes sense and it's whatever." And I live in fear of putting money on credit cards. And so I do it, but right, like I don't do it in a way that feels like like it makes sense. Like I have one for my business and that one is just like it totally makes sense, right? I've got things linked to it. Every month I pay it off because I know exactly what expenses are going on there and it
Right.
feels easy and that's just a business thing and that makes sense to me. But personally, I'm like this card is trouble, you know? That's that's the only connection I have to it. And so anytime I don't think I was on, vacation for 5 days with some girls and I don't think I took my credit card out once.
Right.
Even though, but I was like, it's scary.
It's a little bit of a PTSD type thing, right?
Totally.
Because seeing it brings back, but I actually think that that's a good thing.
Probably.
Because if you didn't have that reaction, we'd be sitting here saying, I built up this credit card debt, I got a loan, I finally paid it all off, and now I have more credit card debt.
Now, to be fair, Suzanne, I didn't say I've paid off the extra credit card debt that I built up at that time. So we are
Gotcha.
working on that. I paid off the loan,
The
which was
loan, right.
nice,
Mhm,
but
yeah. And
yeah.
what's interesting is when you took that loan out, that's probably not something you can even get a personal loan for anymore.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
They're very, very the same thing happened in 2008. Pretty much personal loans were just completely shut down. You had, I mean, you had to and forget about the interest rate. Interest rates now, as we're recording this, are going through the roof, and so it's crazy. Oh, Danica, thanks for joining us this morning. And Danica
Oh,
agrees.
triggering
Definitely seeing
things.
the card is triggering a trauma for sure. For
Yeah.
sure. So, but I'm glad you have that kind of like visceral reaction to seeing it and know the pain that it put you through because it makes you a smarter consumer now.
Yeah. I feel like, and this might be something you can help me clear up. I feel like rich people have it figured out. They use cards to do things with and they like get benefits from it. And because they have income that they can just move around, like they're playing the game. And so
Mm,
I feel like it's a lie told to everyone that like you can play this game too when really you need a lot of capital to be able to like be like I'm just going to pay off this thing now or I'm just going to pay off that versus I don't know. This
yeah.
is what I
So
think.
what I usually tell I've worked with a number of clients where this has been the situation. One of the things that the program that I graduated from as a financial coach, they push trying to ignore your credit score as much as humanly possible. If someone comes to me at age 35 and they have some 700 something credit score, 800 something credit score, but their goal is to truly never use credit again, kind of like you've said, like they have had an adverse experience and they really don't want to use it. Um, Not having revolving credit can actually be a detriment to them if, let's say, they're about to go buy a house.
Mhm.
So if you're 35 and you have a 700 to 800 credit score, we don't have enough time to deplete your credit history to the point where you have a non-existent credit number. Not a zero, but a non-existent credit number. Because you want to buy that house within the next 2 or 3 years, even
Yeah.
5 years. That still wouldn't be enough time to get that 800 score to NA.
Yeah.
So what I tell those people is, listen, I understand your goal is to not use credit any longer. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to set up the relatively fixed expenses in our lives, and we are going to have those auto paid on the credit card. So a good example would be like your auto insurance, which probably only changes amounts every 6 months once they prorate it. So like
Mhm.
if you have $200 a month auto insurance and then that last, bill of the 6 months is 199, it's still going to get paid, right? We're going
Yeah.
to set that up on auto pay on the Visa. Your Verizon cell phone bill, your AT&T
Mhm.
cell phone bill. Typically, it's off by a couple pennies here and there, but it's going to still be in the $80 to $120 range.
Yeah.
So, that's going to go on the credit card. I'm trying to think of anything else that
Our health
Netflix,
insurance.
health insurance, Netflix, streaming services, stuff that really doesn't change except maybe a couple times a year or like when somebody has a price increase, right?
Mhm.
Amazon, if you pay for Amazon Prime monthly, that's usually fixed, right? Unless they
Mhm.
announce a price increase. So all of those relatively fixed expenses, I have people put on credit cards that they don't want to use for active purchases anymore. Like they're not taking it to Target. They're not
Yeah.
taking it to Old Navy, wherever. The credit card is staying home. It's locked in a safe somewhere, but the numbers are tied to paying the auto insurance, paying the cell phone bill. What really develops your credit score is not how much you have on there. That's part of it. What the FICOs and the Experians and TransUnions of the world want to see, they want to see revolving credit. And so just by putting your $85 T-Mobile bill on there monthly, having it hit and paying it off automatically or doing it towards the end of the month, those bills that are going to get paid anyway, they don't freaking know that it's your T-Mobile bill.
Yeah, they're like, we don't care.
They don't log in and say, oh, we can't give her a 750 credit score. She only put her T-Mobile bill on here. They have no idea. All they see is revolving credit. So that's what I have. I encourage those people because listen, if we are at that age and we're about to buy a house, stopping the use of credit can actually be a detriment at that point. So it's just a little trick that we kind of learn along the way, trial and error. Again, does the amount that you put on there matter? It does, but not as much as how much you use it. Unfortunately, it is a game.
Okay, so let's gamify this.
Yes.
So you're putting it on, you're paying it off. Now I've heard you need to let it go one cycle before you pay it off because no, you don't. Okay, so you can pay it off before you're even paying interest on it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. There's I think it depends on who you're, because again, we have the big three credit bureaus, right? So they're all calculating it differently. And FICO is actually something completely separate from that. Your FICO score is usually pulled up by like your bank might have a relationship with FICO. So when you log into your banking app, you see your FICO score, but that's not one of the three big credit bureaus.
Yeah.
So everything, it's like you said, it is a game. By no stretch of the imagination, do you need to pay interest on it in order for it to qualify as revolving credit. Cool. If the cell phone bill gets paid on the 14th of the month, pay it, set up an auto payment for that credit card for 7 days later, for the 21st of the month, whatever it is, and then literally I love the old school, saying of set it and forget it.
Yes.
To me, it's just like that's, and if you're doing a budget and you're seeing these things come out, the payments are still coming out in the exact same amount as those individual bills. It's just that it's getting paid to the credit card. So instead of it showing up as payment to T-Mobile, it's showing up as payment to Visa, but it's still the $85. You still know what it is. So that's how I encourage people who are at that point in life where to try to get their credit score to naught would be actually detrimental.
Okay, now I have a question for you. I'm just using this for my own time.
So from here on out, guys, it's just gonna be a coaching session. So.
It's just a coaching session. We're just doing it. Okay, so I've been using Mint as a budget for so long, and I feel like it just got super weird. And people have said, YNAB, you need a budget. Is it better? Do you have any other online budgeting tools you like?
Yes. So the big three that people use are YNAB, Mint, and EveryDollar. My husband and I use EveryDollar. We pay for it. It is an app that you have to pay for annually, or you can pay for it monthly, but we just pay for it annually. EveryDollar is the number one tool besides me working with a financial coach that I used to pay off $90,000 in debt.
That's good.
I will pay for that app every year for the rest of my life.
Yeah. And do you have an affiliate code? Should we be sharing that with people?
Right? I know. No, I don't. I could probably go online and find one.
You need to get one.
I know, right? I don't have one myself, but I'm sure I could log in and send you one. But
get that affiliate code, girl.
Yeah. And it's interesting you brought up Mint. So Mint is owned by Intuit. Great company. But what I want everyone to remember is Intuit is a technology company. I know people who work there. I know people who specifically work for the Mint side of the business.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean they're bad people, but let's just keep in mind, you need a budget, Mint, EveryDollar, who's developing those products. Mint, I think from what I understood from talking to a couple of people earlier this year, is it's going to be getting a really big integration with QuickBooks and all of their other products. They bought SurveyMonkey or Constant Contact. Which one did they buy? A few years ago. It was like one of the biggest technology, but it basically took Intuit from just a little TurboTax company to really large technology company. And so they
Yeah.
own a whole bunch of stuff. So really, again, I know people who work at Mint, wonderful people, but let's just keep in mind like who's developing it and for what reason they're developing it.
Because I don't know, whoever else out there is listening to this and is using Mint, they just went through some change, and now I'm like, "Where did the buttons go? Why is
Yeah.
it over there? That makes no sense. I need to see what, where all these things are, and I can't find that information anymore."
I think that was
So
part of the integration that they were working on earlier this year.
it's
So
really
I did
aggravating.
not know it happened. I have probably, I don't think I have any clients currently using Mint. I know I have people using Excel and YNAB, as well as Every Dollar. But I don't think I have anybody using Mint at this very moment. But those are the big three.
Yeah.
So that's where I would start. And honestly, the way that I started before I learned this and got a financial coach was at that point I had a job that paid weekly. And so at the end of the week, I knew I was going to get a paycheck weekly, and I would go through my little 10-line Excel spreadsheet and make
Yep.
sure certain things got paid. And so sometimes if you're just starting, the Excel spreadsheet can definitely work. But once you get to a place where you use the software and it's a little more intuitive, that's the number one thing I use to pay off all that debt.
That's so great. We were down to $50,000 before the pandemic. Because also my husband is a documentarian, he's a videographer, and so we were talking about how you can't actually get personal loans. You also can't get loans for a business where you're like, I'm a documentarian and I
Yeah.
need a camera. Um,
No.
doesn't exist. So
Nope.
it's business loan, but also we're both solopreneurs, right? So we're like, it's us, it's the business, it's whatever. And we were back up to 90 and now we're down to 78.
Nice.
So we are on the journey. It's very hard. But
Yes.
why was I telling you all that? I was telling you all of that because budgeting.
Yes.
When I was a waitress, I used to have the accordion file with the money. Oh, I loved that. Like,
Yes.
where you would be like, this is my $13 that goes towards food. This is my 7. Like, I just want to go back to the days where I could carry around
Yeah.
an accordion little file full of money and be like, this is my money.
So I would strongly recommend look up Rachel Cruz, Cruze.
Okay.
She has really pretty envelope systems. And they
Mm.
she actually just came out with one in like a champagne color. And I was like,
Oh,
if I wasn't so attached to my digital, because Every Dollar kind of acts like a digital envelope
yeah.
system. If I wasn't so attached to that app, I would totally get one of those wallets.
And the thing is though, like the last time I held money was so long ago. Like when I was a waitress, it made sense to have the cash because like
Oh,
everything
yeah.
was pretty much cash. You're just making all your money in cash. And now it's like the business, like I started saying money isn't real. Like
Yeah.
people pay the business pays me. I don't know. It's just all up there
It's
in,
all electronic. It's all floating around in the air somewhere. Yeah.
yeah. Like it's just, I believe in it. Like I believe that it's there.
I believe I can take this card and go grocery shopping today.
I believe it will work. So I'm excited about Every Dollar because that
Yeah.
sounds like, yeah, like a virtual envelope system. Like,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. Well, guys, man, Lauren was super vulnerable today. Thank you so much, girl. I
You're
really
so
appreciate
welcome.
it. And you can find all of her information is in the show notes. And I would love to have you back to get an update on your debt maybe in a few months. I think that'd be
Let's
fun.
do it. Our goal is to be down, I think, at 48,000 by the end of the year. So
Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm putting it down on the calendar.
do
Beautiful.
it.
I love
Do
it.
it.
Awesome. All
Okay.
right, guys, check out Lauren. Little shameless plug. Thanks for joining me, hun. And if you missed part of this episode, I saw a bunch of people log in halfway through. Make sure to check the YouTube channel for the replay, and we will see you next week for another episode of Lessons Learned, the dumbest thing I've ever done with money. Thanks, Lauren.